Support for the show comes from Capital.com, a global investment platform that is becoming local. In fact, I have just attended their Dubai launch event yesterday, and they are fully operational here in Dubai. What does this mean? It means that they will be locally regulated and will offer local banking solutions. If you are new to invest, you can check out Capital.com's website and check out all of their learning resources. And if you are an experienced investor, you'll benefit from news and analysis so you can make more informed decisions. Visit Capital.com and start investing today.
I remember Samir used to print, that's probably the most inspiring thing. He used to print stories of emails we get of why people use Maktub and put them on a billboard near the entrance. We're in a house that in Amman, his cousin's house that we use as an office. And you would walk in every morning and you just turn to your left and the billboard is there and you print 2-3 emails and put them in a student, a reporter, a parent, how empowering the email in Arabic was, how they're in Japan able to talk to their parents, communicate, with an Arabic keyboard, how the chat sections, and just, it felt so empowering.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Conversations with Loulou. Before we start this episode, I have an ask of you. If you are enjoying listening to this podcast, please consider hitting the subscribe button wherever you're listening to the podcast or wherever you're watching it, and leave us a rating and a review. It really helps in getting the show discovered, and it would mean a lot to me. I have a very special episode for you today. My guest is Ronaldo Mouchawar. He is one of the region's most defining figures in entrepreneurship and the godfather of e-commerce. Ronaldo, who is currently the VP of Amazon for MENA and Turkey, was the co-founder and CEO of Souk.com, an e-commerce platform that he spun out of Maktub back in 2005 and grew for over a decade to become one of the region's largest e-commerce platforms, which led to its acquisition by Amazon in 2017. Ronaldo has witnessed the growth of the e-commerce ecosystem from a very nascent industry in MENA to an industry that is $60 billion plus and growing. In this conversation, I wanted you to learn about Ronaldo's entrepreneurial journey, learn about his insights on the e-commerce industry, and also learn about the person that is behind the success and where his interests lie. Ronaldo, we made it happen.
Yeah, finally.
Yeah, it's been 4 years, I think, that I've started this podcast, and I've been wanting to host you here. So I'm extremely happy.
Well, congratulations on the podcast. It's extremely doing well. And I listened to some of the episodes, so it's pretty good.
Thank you.
It's good for the region.
Thank you. And I feel a lot of pressure because when I posted on LinkedIn that I'm going to be hosting you, so many people sent me a lot of questions. So I feel I have to do fair by them and ask you all the questions. But so many people are excited that I'm sitting with you and they want to know more about you. So
let's go at it.
You still have it.
Yeah.
20 years in, you still have it.
Actually, it's almost 20 years, 26. So we're getting there. 18 years in this space. Sometimes people tell me, like, are you not bored from e-commerce? And actually, we have so much to do, and there's still so much to be done that for me, still, we're a culture of builders. And as long as I'm building, I'm happy. And, we're building in the region. Amazon continues to expand and, so it's fun.
Good, because that was one of the questions a lot of people wanted to know. I mean, you've been doing it for 20 years. Why are you still doing it? Why are you still with Amazon? It's been 10 years nearly since the acquisition. Well, a bit under 10 years, but that was a question that kept coming up.
Yeah, I mean, first phase, it was about to learn. There was enough curiosity in me to learn what is Amazon, how do they run at scale, customer centricity, how does the company execute. And that was a very interesting journey, probably the hardest 2-3 years in my life, right after the acquisition, going from running a small company that you are involved in making most of the decision, or at least involved in most of them, to a much larger organization, understanding how they work, building trust with leaders across the globe, making sure the region is on their roadmap to how they grow, making sure at the end I like to build. So making sure Amazon is investing and building in the region. Just about 3 weeks ago, we announced our third data center, region in this.
Where do you have data centers now?
So we had Bahrain before the acquisition. A few years back we did the UAE, and now we just announced Saudi, and those are billion-dollar investment, high tech, bringing the best type of jobs to the region. Before that, we Arabized Alexa, so that was very exciting. And obviously, our store and e-commerce business continues to scale. We're in so many countries now in the region, and we continue to add customers, continue to add infrastructure, serve sellers, obviously employment, and bringing, real tech, deep tech into the region is something, I'm proud of. And at the same time, it's an exciting journey. You learn a lot from it.
So your assessment basically of this journey, when you reflect on it, how do you assess that 20 years?
When the exit happened, I was very proud. That was a pinnacle moment, I think, for the region, just because, usually big tech companies buy complementary IP and assets. They don't really buy exactly core of what they do. They build things around them to complement them. But I felt the way we had built Sue between the payment, the last mile and logistic, and obviously our marketplace business and our app resonated very well. How we focused on customers, the plumbing we had done in the region to make sure these things work. I call it plumbing because it's literally that for payment and logistic, definitely, even for content. So it was a proud moment that Amazon looked at Sue, looked at the tech, the services we had built, and decided to acquire versus come and build here. And usually in most of the countries, I think around the same time, they had just launched Australia, Turkey, and India. So they're all right around us. And I'm sure in all these countries, they had maybe a build versus buy decision. And, they obviously, Amazon is a company of builders, so decided. So it was a very proud moment. You go back probably to the launch, like when we started Sue, I think it was more aspirational, adventurous. I don't think we knew exactly what we're getting into. It was like, we're going to build a marketplace for the Arab world. The US had eBay at the time. Amazon was just like scaling. And then obviously Alibaba in China. So it's like, okay, the region needs its own Sue. So we came up with the name Sue. And, Samih and Hussam went on this journey to build this company. And I would think it was more adventurous. Like, we really didn't understand what's going to take. What are the steps we need to go through. And at the time, I mean, the industry was at its nuisance. I mean, seed and venture
2005
capital. I mean,
and
Maktub
before.
started in 2. So yeah, we built an e-commerce functions on Maktub, Mazad Maktub, shot at Maktub. Then Samih launched Cash. We wanted a way to get paid. So there were 3 e-commerce initiatives on Maktub. We had also a dating service called Bint al Halal, but Yahoo had acquired that. So those were the 4 kind of transactional e-commerce. We had 4 transactional businesses. And then obviously at one point in around 2005, 2006, I came to the conclusion that, we need our own trusted marketplace. While we had benefited initially from Maktub and its setup and some of the traffic, the type of customers Maktub was getting was young people who kind of was like the social media of the Arab world. We wanted merchants, buyers, customers, brands. So we had to establish trust. We had to establish transactions, simplicity, obviously payments and all that. So we had to pivot from doing everything on Maktub to Sue. So I think that journey is quite adventurous on its own. We didn't know how much money it's going to take, what it really takes when now you see how much funding goes into this type of marketplace where you're involved in payment and logistics and, helping thousands and thousands of sellers and having millions of customers. It's an offline business, but with a huge online component, unlike other businesses like Maktub was pure online. So I think that's where we are. And if you look today, I think I'm bullish on the region because I think our exit and what has followed with Kareem and just the type of government money and venture capitalist money that has gone now in the region and how many decks I get that have either Kareem or Sue or both on them as if like they're pinnacle.
The teams,
in
right?
terms of like, this is what we want to do. Either we've been in this team or here are exits that have happened. The region is exciting. I think I'm very bullish that we're able now to bring talent back. I'm bullish on the region. We're one of the few regions that are growing. When I meet tech and entrepreneurs abroad, they're very curious about what's happening in the UAE, very curious about what's happening in Saudi. They want to come. People want to start up business here. Families, Arab expats who have moved abroad now look at Dubai or the region. They want to come back. So a lot of exciting things are happening. And I don't feel the same anymore about the West as I did before, where we were inspired by. We wanted to go there. We wanted to learn. We wanted to build, there. And now it's kind of like the reverse is happening. So I'm not bullish on the region. So I would say adventurous, proud, and bullish will probably the three different phases that I describe how I feel about the region.
Bullish means you're going to carry on.
I'm going to carry on, and I'm
time.
bullish for the region. I mean, I'll carry on in terms of building what I like. Amazon helps thousands of sellers across the globe. I think for SMEs, we just announced like about 10,000 sellers have crossed the $1 million revenue on our sites across the world. So I'm excited to build. We hire so many bright people. I work with so many smart people. So building, as long as we're building in the region, Amazon excites me. And obviously we keep expanding in the region. So it's still, there's a lot to do. I'm bullish more on what I see in the ecosystem, how smart the entrepreneurs are, how they're able to raise a bit more capital much faster than we did. When we were raising capital, first it was like, where is the Middle East? Is it safe? I remember in 2016, we had to explain how far ISIS was from our warehouses in countries. Like, that's where we were, right? And then, is the industry good enough? Is the market big? Is there tech in the region that can support innovation that can compete with maybe global or regional players? And the last was, did you guys build something meaningful and you have a good team, and are you delivering on your promise? And let's look at your unit economics and all the financial part of an investment, what comes with it. So you had to almost go through 4 phases. And I think now we've cut few of them. We have local investment. The region is on the map. People understand and have looked at few of the exit that happened. They see also what's happening in the whole economy in the region, where we have growing economies and a lot of youth are contributing and more employment is happening. So that part I'm bullish on, even though we continue to face difficult geopolitical situations and we have our own sets of problems that no one else has. But I'm still bullish on the other side that we can create jobs here for people, and there are meaningful roles and enough number of startups and companies, and now governments also. In deep tech that there are opportunities here versus in the past when I left to the US, for example.
I'm going to come back to that, but just to comment on what you said, I saw a recent announcement by Amazon that said basically you're going to have 100,000 sellers from the region on Amazon by 2026.
Yeah, we're committed to, we're not far from that number. This number is UAE only.
UAE, wow,
only,
okay.
And we continue to support businesses, sellers, build one from here, make them brand owners, launch their brands on Amazon, help them distribute across the world. So we're doing the same with Munshaat in Saudi Arabia. Also, it's an SME foundation. They have another 40,000. So we continue to go to these small and medium foundation or institutions that support these businesses, look at their portfolio of companies, see who can who builds products or services that we can market and help educate and sell on Amazon. And we're committed to make these sellers successful, not only in the region. Some of them are now becoming large enough to think we have a brand. They're asking us, how can we tap into Europe? How can we tap into the US? And obviously with the fulfillment programs that Amazon has, you can literally just drop your product in one of the warehouses across the world, and you can access a fairly large prime customers in a large market.
And part of that same announcement, it's part of that the Dubai D33 agenda that they want to help support and create 30 unicorns by 2033. You spoke a little bit about how excited you are about the level of education that the entrepreneurs have today and the whole ecosystem around it. I mean, do you think that number is achievable?
I mean, for the region, it's achievable. I think it's achievable. We already see 6-7 unicorns in Saudi. We have 3-4 here. We just had the Property Finder did an exit around that valuation. So we continue to see. I'm a bit worried that the markets around us are not as encouraging. So if you see the UAE, for example, a natural expansion would be Saudi. Then you would go to Egypt. You look at Pakistan. You look at Turkey. Like, those are sizable markets around us. If you see in the last year or two, Pakistan, Turkey, and Egypt has faced a bit of economic crunch, devaluations. So, pouring in foreign capital is not as easy as before. And I think the entrepreneurs in these markets had worked very hard to, build on self-sustainability in a much faster way, in a shorter roadmaps, then probably would be ideal. That said, Egypt, Turkey, as well as Pakistan has still amazing companies, fairly large economies, populous countries, and growing population that's young. So, versus in the West, you have some of the countries that barely are either growing or degrowing in even population, which is, the base customers that you want to tap into.
Yeah, yeah. But I mean, I guess when you talk about MENA, it's not all the same, right? You have the GCC, which is in a league of its own, basically, when it comes to the economy.
Yeah, the GCC could have 30 unicorns. I think it's doable. There's enough sectors that we haven't yet tapped into. If you beyond e-commerce and I guess logistics or transportation, which now we have few players, but I still think even in that space, there's a lot to innovate. At least ride sharing, we have 2-3 players in the region, but fintech, we just see now, while payments has been solved, affordability now is a big theme. You initially tap into your, higher income demographic, they're early adopter of technology. They liked e-commerce, they were adopters, they started buying initially electronics, then fashion, then health and beauty, and now we're into almost every category for your home, for your food, grocery, pets, everything. You go a bit below that demographic and you have a whole set of customers that yet to shop online. They may use debit cards versus credit card. They don't use as much cash anymore because they want the installment, they want the affordability, they want the features. So we've seen a couple of startups in that space and more to come in micro lending, payments, and financing. We haven't tapped into mortgages, cars. I mean, those are still run by traditional finance institutions or banks. Beyond that, education. I mean, we saw in COVID how, you kind of become a global provider of education. The physical presence is important, but not everything. Think of many students who haven't studied abroad because they didn't have the means. Today, I think we're going through a culture shift. And it's not only developing your academia. I think it's retooling some of the employees who are already in the workforce. Those could use technology more because they already have jobs. And you look at that space, there are startups in that space, but I don't think we've tapped into its full potential. You compare like Udacity in the US and a few others. If you look at healthcare, I mean, again, COVID showed us that you could do a lot with telemedicine. You could have access to doctors. You can almost do surgeries with technology remotely. So that space in the region, and those are 2-3 pillars. You have energy, you have agriculture. I mean, we have problem with water. My dad, for example, he used to dream about irrigating Syria. He was obsessed about irrigation, and he was in his own way an entrepreneur. And these problems haven't gotten away. The region has gotten warmer. We have shortage of water. You need food safety. Again, we learned a lot of lessons in COVID. While COVID itself was a painful pandemic, I think we as humans learned where are our weak points, where are areas we can innovate. We had to scrap many assumptions that we thought are not, like co-sharing, working, remote, teams, like all the things that we had to do and innovate around are today part of our realities. Some we liked and we will keep, and some we didn't like. And we decided to go back to our old ways or maybe find hybrid models. So, just looking at those 4 or 5 big verticals or strategic sectors, you see there's so much still to do. So having 33 companies for a region that's growing, that's expanding, that has 400-500 million people is not very, it's ambitious, but not undoable, in my view.
A lot of venture capitalists shy away from some of these sectors that you mentioned. Like you don't see a lot of investment in education or in healthcare, for example, at least on the venture side. And you see a lot of excitement about fintech and like the e-commerce and logistics and everything around it, enabling e-commerce and fintech. But you don't see a lot of the other sectors. Do you think we should be paying more attention to these?
I think there are more opportunities, but maybe some of these VCs assume some of the role to support these industries fall on the local governments. They play a big role in education. They play a big role in healthcare. And maybe in the West, they don't dabble as much in them. I believe, they could scale. We could serve hundreds of thousands, if not millions of customers. Obviously, the unit economic, what sector works, what will scale in the region. Can we do one platform like Sue and Kareem where we applied it across 4, 5, 6 geographies, or do you need to tailor more?
Yeah.
But I think like healthcare, who doesn't need supported healthcare?
Yeah.
Longevity. There are many startups around the space, but if you look at the region, there are not as many yet here. So
Is it a function of capital availability, you think?
Prioritization, capital availability. I think the last 2-3 years, the global market shrank a bit. So deployment of capital, I think, follows. If the public markets are doing well, profits from those probably end up back into the VC cycles, and they end up back being invested in newer businesses. So that cycle in the region obviously had slowed down. There was a big pressure on profitability from many of these startups to improve their unit economic, which is a good thing. That's not a bad thing. And then, we live in cycles, I think. And I think we're coming out of a slow down cycle, and hopefully the next 2-3 years, we see growth. That said, there are factors where sovereign funds or government funds.
I was going to say that there's quite a bit of money,
right? So that money is available. We need the startup. So I still feel always the ownership is on the entrepreneurs to come up with ideas that excites investors, that can scale, that show potential. And I think we're at a stage where there is money to be deployed, especially now. Maybe last year, the last 18 months, it wasn't as easy. Entrepreneurs had to live with lower valuations, expectation. But I think now things like funding is available. You need ideas that can demonstrate scale. At the end, it's about, is the founder good? Is the market big? And can these guys, whatever they're doing, is it scalable enough, to give a good return for the VCs?
Yeah.
And that's how the ownership is on the VC also. Like, we never put ourselves in the shoes of the VC. It's like when you part with your money, it's not easy. So they need to see returns. They're not a charitable organization.
Yeah. On this point, I feel that there is quite a bit of money, especially from sovereign wealth funds. I mean, it is available. I meet people that are selling Indian companies to like ADQ for $100 million, plus. So I think there is money, but is it, maybe it's like a little bit uncharted in terms of how much money you need to invest in this business to get it to a certain point. Like, this is one of the worries usually about e-commerce, is that e-commerce, they need a lot of money to get to scale, because you have so many problems that you're trying to solve, and especially in this part of the world. So maybe from a VC standpoint, how much money do I need to pour into a health tech or an ed tech business to get it to a point where, it's acquirable?
I would think they would require lesser capital than e-commerce.
You think?
E-commerce is very asset intensive. It touches on logistics, supply chain. You have fulfillment centers that you have to build. You're building a network across geographies. The larger the countries, for example, Saudi Arabia is large, so you need multiple fulfillment center, multiple delivery stations, and there is a fixed cost that is needed to be deployed to meet the demand of the customer and maintain a service. I think there are many of the other virtual services can scale with probably less capital, but more IP, more application like AI now. You can apply AI in many things and bring efficiency and hopefully scale. I think that the ownership's on the entrepreneurs to demonstrate.
So you don't think the ideas that are out there are...
I mean, some are getting funding.
Scalable enough or exciting enough to get...
I think I see, like, every day I read 1 or 2 companies are getting funded. I think there is a pipeline. I think it can be bigger, obviously. But, when you're in them and you're building... I don't want to put myself like in the place of the entrepreneurs now, but it's a journey and it takes hard work and nothing happens fast. And I always think every business takes 10 years. Some get lucky and exit before, but like when you sign up, you're signing up 10 years of hard work, daily,
I don't think people think about that, by the way.
We've seen it in Maktoub. We saw it in so Maktoub was around 89 to 2000. They exited around 2009. Suq was 2006. We exited around 2017. I think Kareem was a bit faster, but not much faster. 8 or 9 years. Property Finder. I met Michael like in 2006. We launched together.
More than 12 years, I think.
And almost is still on the journey. And same with Dubizzle was faster. I mean, again, if the business is very virtual, you may be able to hit scale faster. You may find potential strategic investor, but if you want to build a good company that almost at the edge of becoming profitable. It's a journey. I mean, it takes time to build, especially if you want to build complementary services. You're filling gaps. Some of the startups I was felt in the US, they had payment, they had logistics. So as much as they had to work hard to innovate, to build, but they depend on core services that
They didn't
exist.
need to build their
in
own
many
payment.
of our cases, like, okay, we had cash, it's amazing. Sue was doing well with cash. We had built an amazing cash on delivery system that was helping us grow. And we even contemplated internally to offer it to even competitors, like we did with Pay for Payment. And then we came back and said, you know what, we need to cannibalize ourselves. Let's go invest in digital payments and drive adoption, because customers had credit cards. They were willing to pay online. Either the experience of paying wasn't good, the banks didn't support it. We need to have good dialogues with the banks. We needed better mobile tools to work on a mobile phone. You don't want a web page where you go and type and you get redirected to a bank page and you come back from that, and maybe you come back and maybe you don't. So the experience was it's not a high quality experience. So people shied away, and the easiest things like, let me order cash. By the way, also maybe the goods come, maybe they don't come. So the promise wasn't sharp. The delivery speed wasn't good enough. So when we provided a better e-payment tools, we saw a very quick adoption. And today, while the region still has cash, we don't talk about it much, because we know now we have good alternatives that are still work in progress, but in much better place than they were 7-8 years ago. And today, if I want to launch a service that requires payment on a mobile phone, I mean, you have
many
Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay, and then accepting payments is not as difficult as it was before.
What were some of the other challenges that you had back then, other than like cash, obviously logistics?
I mean, we needed to have a good selection of products at good prices. That was the pinnacle of our offering, is always selection, price, and somehow good, convenient delivery and payments. Initially, brands shied away from online. They didn't like the channel. They had invested in physical malls, shops. They were scaling that part of the business. The region has incredible retail centers that have done very well, and the brand had enough resources to deploy. And they always, I felt like they always shied away from investing heavily in e-commerce and pure play online channels. When we did White Friday in 2014, we went to some of these big brands, say, for one day, for 2 days,
discount
engage with us.
Yeah.
Let's put the offers on Sue and just see the potential. And I remember one of the brands calling me and saying, you guys sold more than the largest retailer in that week or day. So that was like an early adoption where we started having a good dialogue with brands versus smaller sellers, resellers, which were very important for our ecosystem. We provided a very valuable service for the smaller sellers because we were giving them pan-region, at least pan-UAE, pan-Saudi access, while they're a small shop in a store in a neighborhood where they had mostly local customers. But then when the brands came, funding came, selection improved, availability of products on the site improved. And I think convincing the brands in this region to adopt e-commerce and believing that this channel is going to grow at the time was probably one of the unforeseen challenges. It wasn't talked about a lot. It was we would go into meetings and I would write to my team, no, they're not going to give us the products. And we'd walk out of the meeting and obviously my team would be disappointed. And then I'll open the page and I say, look, I told you they're not going to give us the product. We have to try again. Many of the big brands. And that now is very different because e-commerce is growing somewhere between 20 and 40, depending what region you're in, what city you're in. Adoption has become high. The service levels are extremely convenient for customers, and many customers adopt to buy online versus traditional or a combo of the two. Yeah. So obviously for the brand, the investment in these channels have become important, and with that, you have more availability, more choice. We manage hundreds of millions of SKUs today on the Amazon.ae site.
There's nothing that you can't buy on Amazon.
Just to give you perspective, a large traditional store you walk into that is super large, probably somewhere between 60 to 100,000 unique items. That's a very large store that'll take you an hour to walk through to be able to pick the items that you want versus 100 million. Like just to give you the perspective on scale and hence choice. And then with choice, there are prices, better prices. And then today in the UAE and most of the region, if you're a Prime customer, one day, half a day, couple of hours.
Same day,
It's quite fast.
You made it very difficult for us parents because now my kids, anything they want, go on Amazon, get it, and they want it now, and if it's something that ships from abroad and it arrives in 2 weeks, it's a disaster. Like
we use AI. We obviously can't have everything here. For example, books, it's a 50 million item category if we just want to focus on a good bookstore. So we have a hybrid model. We have what we call global stores. So we have the US site, the UK site linked to the UAE site.
Yeah.
And while it's not 2 weeks, as a Prime member, you can buy the item for free shipping, and it's about 5 to 7 days.
Yeah.
And with AI, you're able to figure out what customers want and what they're looking at. And maybe they're not buying because it's not fast enough, like it doesn't meet the need today. And over time, we have improved the way we fulfill to customers where, we predict and use AI in a way to bring inventory closer and closer. So the book that you may have found 2 weeks ago that took 10 days to deliver may end up being delivered within 2 days and then half a day as more customers look at it and it becomes more popular. So, with AI, we're able to place inventory in a much better way than before. And because many brands don't bring everything to the region, they try to, cater to the most profitable maybe items that they want to sell. We want to bring everything. Obviously, the customer, we believe strongly in empowering our customers and the choice that they have on Amazon, and any e-commerce site would think the same. And hence, we want to bring everything, and we're always trying to make that experience better. But there's a lot of work that goes into into bringing that selection and choice to the customer. And there is a moment where we're also proud. Like we feel our Prime program over the last 2-3 years is like among the best. I have many customers who come from many other countries and say, in the UAE, you guys are just so much faster.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Obviously, the geography helps, but the same is in Saudi today.
Yeah. What is like something that you saw listed on Amazon that amused you or surprised you?
We have everything on Amazon.
Yeah,
everything I can think of, you find. So I love music, obviously. So I'm always dabbling with like speakers and trying to figure out which ones to get, and like obsessed about sound and tools. If you're a hobbyist, you can find everything. Sometimes like I'm thinking and then I'm like, yeah, but we probably have it on Amazon. You're trying to think where to go and what to do because it's a bit weird, like a tool. I needed a cooler tank for an engine, a diesel engine, and they didn't have it in the store here. They like the dealer of that brand, that engine, didn't carry that in. They said, like, we don't really have a lot of use for it. It'll take 3 weeks to order it. Yeah. So he gave me a used one, but it leaked. So it was like, it didn't serve my purpose. And he said, we're going to back order it. And it was quite a bit of money. And then I'm like, can you just give me the part number? Yeah. Like what the part number we're trying to buy. And then he gave me the part number. I put it on Amazon. It was like 100 dirham. It ships in 5 days.
Oh, wow.
And by the time pretty much like the guy was done with everything else, I just been like, here's the tank. Can you please install
put it in?
So
yeah.
I initially okay, they're the dealer. Yeah. I'll wait for them. Then like, can you give me the part number? It probably is available. It was available.
What does that mean for entrepreneurs that are looking to build e-commerce businesses here? Like we have some good examples of entrepreneur building, vertical businesses. Iowa, for example, like in eyewear, you have HomeSmart, for example, and furniture. Is there room for e-commerce players here in the region?
If your shopping journey is a bit different than the normal browse, search, click, add, come in a box, that model that we apply, I think there are room to innovate. So eyewear, for example, you may need tech around trying it. Yes. You may need to link with prescriptions and getting the right dimensions of your eye center. So there's a process you go through that you need a tailored experience, but it's a large market size. It has a lot of accessories. So again, this is a good example where you can innovate on the experience of the customer, and somehow maybe you need an online component to make it work better. And you see that, there are room for these customized experiences. When you come to the general merchandising, it's about, can you have all the selection customers want? Is it available? Is it fast? Do you have the infrastructure? So that becomes more, what we do today.
Yeah.
But I think there are many, the examples you gave, beauty is another one that we see, customized, like people who you need special treatment, you need some kind of consultation around knowledge. We can add that content into our pages, but I think customers somehow, are attached to an experience that they're comfortable with. Sometimes it marries a bit the offline experience that they're used to. They want choice, they want to try, so you're able to innovate.
What about luxury?
Luxury, the luxury brands, while we have luxury verticals and sections of Amazon for luxury brands, they've done their own stores. They care about the look and feel in general. They want to control totally the supply chain. So I think it's a space for this region, obviously huge potential. We show few players who, if you focus on luxury, you're able to do it, but you need access to goods. The key with luxury is, and this region has a lot of licensees who have the brands, they distribute the brands locally. So it's about access to goods more.
Yeah. Do you think they'll have the same challenges that you had building Souq in terms of the amount of capital that needs to be invested, or is there enough infrastructure today?
I think today you have many logistic suppliers, you have payment. I don't know if you need all the capital, but again, as you scale and as you venture into improving your customer journey, we think long term. So it's like about what happens in 5 years, what happens in 10 years. Are we good enough today? It's not about that everything needs to work today. So Amazon is a very long-term thinker, focuses on the customer journey. We get inspired by our competitors, but we know what our customers want and what we need to do, and we need to innovate for them. So, we focus long-term, and many of the startups, they have to have the same model.
Survival mode, many of the startups.
It's just provide a good service for your customer, but then once you have it, it's endless. You need to improve it. So we call that day one in the company. Like every day you're going to have to provide. Are we better today than yesterday? Are we better this week than last week? Are we better this month than last month? And you need to continue to do that. And customers are pushing us to do that.
Yeah, I still hear it. Like sometimes you're out with friends and so on who are not in the startup ecosystem, and they would say, I'm building an app, or like why do you have to put so much money in this app? And behind that app that you see, there's a whole operation. Yeah. So it's funny that people still look at it sometimes as if it's just an app.
I think today people understand that you can create a company and add a lot of value. And serve million customers through these apps. 10 years ago, people thought we do this for a hobby because they never paid for any online service. Most of the services are ad supported, so they were never the consumer themselves. So they always thought like you build this web page and it's more like a hobby, and they never saw the revenue stream. So we've changed. Times have changed a lot. I remember some of my parents' friends would say like, internet is a hobby. I was building websites and trying to, build intranets and services, and our family friends would say, this is like more like a hobby.
Yeah.
I think they've changed their mind now, but it takes some big, some conviction to go through that.
Yeah, I'm sure you've done well for yourself. In terms of trends that you see, so there's a few people on LinkedIn that were asking about like the omni-channel type shopping, right? So how do you see it here in the region? You have a lot of investment in malls. And you have Amazon and other e-commerce that's growing.
Most of these brands work with us well. Today, I had a meeting in the morning with a very prominent retailer who have access to large selection of product. It was in the sports vertical. And, they're very excited to work with us. They see the potential. They see they can reach more customers. They see also the consumer trend and the shift toward, wanting instant buying, quick delivery. And, we build an infrastructure and logistic, and we have the technology to do that. They know their products. They know their customers well. They understood every market segment, what type of sports gear they need to provide them. So they were very clear on their value proposition. And I find in this region, we're able to work together in a much better way because we are here and we know that they are here, and they have access to goods and supply, and we're deploying global technology that quite up to date, and the two seems to work together. We did the same, for example, in grocery. We have a partnership with Loulou, they're a very big grocer here in Saudi, good quality product and very well priced. And, we provide the technology to
But
do
the
the
checkout
delivery.
experience, by the way, is not the Amazon checkout experience.
I mean, for grocery, you need different because you need to add so many items. It's a bit different than buying one at a time. So you have to build your basket. And the focus usually in grocery is building your weekly grocery basket, which may be 30, 40 items, versus on Amazon, usually you want one thing, you find it, you click buy now, it's Prime, you deliver it. So obviously the journey of the customer is different. Also in grocery, sometimes you may want to substitute products. You have this milk, but you don't have this milk in the store. So how do you quickly substitute the product?
But you
so
have your own
different
as well, right? You have your own Amazon grocery.
In the US, we obviously acquired Whole Food, and there we are building with Whole Food a grocery experience. In this region, we have many good established grocery retailers, and again, our first choice here is just to work with. They have the right supply chain. They know how to import the produce. They're vertically integrated from some of the farms and the dairy products. So it just makes a lot more sense to work with them. If we're able to give a good service, good prices to our customers, we'd work with them, obviously.
And for the omni-channel, to go back to just close on that, do you offer retailers any technology in their stores? Like, is there?
I mean, for the ones I mentioned, where you need to pick, pack, obviously we deploy our technology, how to pick in the aisles, how to optimize that process. For some of the other retailers, we actually almost put an Amazon warehouse into their warehouse.
Okay.
So they get our warehousing technology and they're able to manage their inventory, picking, packing, the routes, how to position inventory in a much better way. So we've externalized some of these functions where our key retailers, vendors, suppliers, sellers are able to use them if they want to. And that helps us a lot because many of them also want to have access to deploy the inventory either to their retail store or to Amazon. And this way, they have one inventory pool that they could use for both.
Yeah. And you're going deeper into the supply chain as well. I saw that in the US, you have the fulfillment.
Fulfilled by Amazon is available here. Shipped by Amazon is not yet available.
No, but that's
here.
the one between the supplier of the merchant.
Yeah, we have few fulfillment programs.
Okay.
Most of them are available here.
Okay.
What we don't have yet here is buy with Prime, meaning a retailer on his own website can put Prime, the checkout of Prime, and if you're a Prime member, the service would act like Prime. You don't have to enter your credentials.
On their own website.
You get on their own website, and we're very excited about that. And we've externalized pretty much like the whole Prime experience to any omni-channel or a retailer who wants to adopt because we have many Prime customers who already have their credential. B, the delivery service with Prime is usually fast, reliable. So we work with these retailers where we can.
And in terms of other trends, in terms of e-commerce, obviously you see a lot of new. Well, it's not really that new, but trends when it comes to social commerce, for example. Like I saw a statistic that social commerce sales reached nearly $1 trillion in 2022, projected to hit 8.5 trillion by 2030. So do you see? I mean, is Amazon doing something on that front, or?
I mean, obviously, we have programs where influencers and so you can tap into your social network. I think if you think about it. Initially, when you are selling products, you probably, as any startup, you start with your friends, with your network, with your family, with your circle around you. You understand the need and you try to bring products that fill the need and you start finding scale. I think Amazon plays a big role of how you go from that first phase to serve a much wider audience with, as we said, with our fulfillment tools, our saying. So there's nothing that stops you from marketing, using your social channel to attract the customers you like, and then either put the products on Amazon where you get more customers that are Prime members, or use Amazon for the fulfillment, logistics, shipping, payment to just expedite that process. And as you scale, instead of you investing in fulfillment and logistics and technology, you can have Amazon do that and for a very cost-effective manner because we do it at scale, and the reliability of that service has worked for millions and millions of customers and millions of orders. So I think for the social commerce parts, linking it with Amazon, you get scale. I think, for example, in the US, we work with Snap. We're trying to make sure, like, how do you add a buy button and work with Snap for e-commerce on Snap. So the two, I don't see them conflicting. Social drives awareness and traffic and interaction with your customer base. And if you're a brand owner, they're probably important components in your journey to be able to listen to your customers, drive your brand, have that engagement. But then at one point, as you scale, you're going to need to start thinking of your supply chain, of your logistic, global expansion, global selling. And this is where Amazon can help you, because if you're set up here with the same setup, you're able to tap to whole Europe. You're able to tap to the US, Latam, Australia, even India. So you can scale with the services. I think for e-commerce, if you think of the PC, the internet, the mobile phone, those three pinnacle innovation, I think last year and what's happening with generative AI is probably the next big wave of change that we are all going to experience. I mean, the amount of advancements that are taking space in a very short period of time, for me, are astonishing. And I'm quite bullish, and I'm sure using these tools, we will be able to change the experiences of both the customers who are shopping as well as the selling partners who are selling. And obviously, many of the verticals we talked about earlier as for entrepreneurs, where you don't have a lot of data, but you need data, and generative AI can help you bridge the gap. If you think of just what we talked about, inventory placement, product description, imagine like for an entrepreneur, he has these products and he has to go in and fill all the attributes. What's the battery size? What type of battery this item is? The type of, the weight, the box, the dimension. Like there are a lot of, the more you describe your item, you're better served either in the supply chain or for customers to find it. And many of the smaller sellers don't have the resources to spend all that energy in multiple languages and multiple countries to do that. They probably have a picture and a description of a couple of lines and a part number, and they want to sell on many sites. And hence you can see like how generative AI can help them there. Customers want to interact, like while they search, we see more ambiguous searches. You know, you want, instead of saying like, I want a black dress, you say, you know, I have an award function that I want to dress for. And you probably want that than just saying, you know, I think I want a black dress.
So more contextual.
So you will see how contextual, you can maybe refine your search, you know, with refinements that are linguistic. So I think for the discovery of the product, there'll be a lot of innovation. Obviously, conversational shopping in the sense can happen. Today, the language you use can be understood. In our region, we see mix of Arabic, English, local dialogue all together, and we're trying to figure out what's going on. You know, what's called a bed there or a mattress here is called something else in Saudi, on the East region, on the West region. So I think these tools will help the shoppers quite a bit. And then for brands and the way they want to advertise and market their product, today you create 4, 5, 10 ads, you know, X, Y demographic, maybe gender, maybe income, maybe city, language, where you'll be able to, with generative AI, create an ad almost for every profile you can think of. And just the productivity you get from that. We talked about inventory placement and forecasting of the inventory. Those are just a few. And then, you know, on the workforce, how to plan your workforce, the type of work that your team is doing versus repetitive work changes, so the innovation. So I think it will touch upon almost every person, every function, every interaction we have, either with our teams, with our sellers and vendors, and obviously with the customers.
Would the shopping, not experience, but would the shopping platform change, like the way it looks?
I think it would have to change.
Like now, obviously, maybe you've seen Google announced that they're going to make changes to search. So it's going to be...
You almost have to. I think in the US, we launched a pilot called Rufus, and it's in the bottom sheet, and you just like scroll it up, and you almost have a person. I think of it like a concierge.
Okay.
You're shopping with. It doesn't look like the typical Amazon search. smart widgets that we have and the recommendation. So it will change. Obviously, it will change.
Yeah.
I think it's astonishing how fast the technology is changing. And as we find applications for it and deploy it in the right places and learn from customers of how to interact with the tool, but the foundational models are now large enough for us to make progress. And we're seeing that progress happening. And obviously, productivity will come with it. The smaller sellers, as these tools become available for them, they'll use them. Today, they need a marketing team, they need a catalog team, probably an imagery team, like all that stuff would be, I think you'll find opportunities to improve your product. So I'm excited to see a new phase. And since the mobile app, so 2007-8, we're on this mobile journey, making it simple, recommendations. We were showing millions of products and we're trying to always figure out what's the best product to show you, what to recommend to you. So it's more about solving only the curation of what we think you want. And now it's almost like figuring out what you really want, not what you're typing, and try to, go beyond to maybe your aspiration versus your immediate words that you're using.
Yeah. No, I think it's definitely going to be
so
very
I think
exciting.
In that space, there's tons, companies are building models that you can tap into. We're investing in many companies. We also have a fund. Obviously, AWS has many services. So, in every space, I think you will find application. I'm excited to see what we can do with Arabic. For example, I always say we are always an adopter of this technology.
Yeah.
I never liked the word because it feels like you're late.
Yeah.
So when the internet came, governments were a bit worried. So they put proxies, and every country was sure and unsure what to do and not to do, and what email to use and what sites to open. And I feel that held us back. Countries that didn't have good internet end up not having the right culture, not the right entrepreneurs, not enough innovation.
Yeah.
I always give Jordan as an example because I think in 2000 they deregulated telecom very quickly. They had multiple ISPs, multiple service providers. So entrepreneurs found access to internet there feasible, cheaper, and many internet companies started there versus other countries in the Levant. Same happened in Dubai. Internet City came, accessibility, customers would connected with DSL. The tech sector here flourished. So I feel hopefully with AI, we're aware. I know it comes with its own risk and challenges, but we in the region adopt it. We know it's coming. The models can be developed. A lot of the technology is out there. And hopefully we're not a late adopter. And this is an opportunity for us where we can catch up. We have funds in the region. We talked about that earlier.
Yeah.
We have users, so we have enough to generate data, and we have enough ambiguous problems to solve. So it could be that this is a bridge for us to solve education, Arabic content, like a lot of that. Maybe these tools can
Arabic
come
content
in
is
and
such
help.
a challenge, though.
It's
I talked
tough.
about it. I had Raf Fatani on the
Yes.
show. He heads Alexa for you guys. So we talked a lot about the challenge of Arabic and like how many dialects you have, and it's really difficult. He got me this poster, by the way, Amazon Alexa. But how do you talk to Alexa, right? You talk in your own dialect, and then or you talk in the written Arabic. I think Arabic is very challenging.
Customers will talk in the way they talk.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
you need to understand. And I think we're in a state where your mainstream English language and a dialect are a combo. We see that sometimes in search, where there's an English brand with an Arabic word and some cryptic pronouns for it that we don't really understand. But I think as the models improve, I think this is an area, we need to invest in this space, not be afraid of it. AI is dangerous.
That requires a lot of investment again.
It requires investment, requires innovation. I don't think it's all investment. I think the tools are available, but the focus needs to be there. What I hope in the region that we have the capital, we have now startups, we don't wait. And we don't want to wait like, okay, let me see we'll copy things, we'll localize them. I think we can be on the forefront a bit in some of these, and hopefully that happens.
That's a good segue, actually, because I wanted to ask you initially about your journey as an entrepreneur, but we kind of got into the conversation, so we didn't really get to it. But for the young people that are listening to you now, right, what are like some of the next opportunities? What is your advice to them? I mean, you were born and raised in Syria, and then you went to the US where you studied. And then at some point in the conversation, you were telling me that you're not as inspired by the West anymore. You feel like there's a kind of a reversal of that. So how do you kind of compare maybe your experience as a young Syrian guy to someone today in the Arab world?
Every person has a journey, and no journey is simple and easy, and it's not easy to reflect on what others go through, because everyone
Why did you
has
decide
this,
to leave Syria?
I mean, I like tech and space since I was
Space.
Like
Okay.
initially, I was good in math and not so good in social and art and literature. Maybe I was just like very numerical, analytical mind. I remember when the first computer came, we had one, and we had to take a special class in a center, and 5-10 students had to basically share 1 or 2 Commodores, I think, at the time. And we had to program basics. I remember writing with my friend our first basic program. And it was just fascinating. And then the game started, some of the Tetris on TV. We had this very early stage game. So I was fascinated. I have relatives in the US, so I was lucky enough to get accepted and enroll in a university in the US.
That was a big deal, though.
Yeah, we had to work. I mean, it wasn't easy. I worked at a bookstore. I worked in the dorms. I mean, we did as many jobs as we could, because the cost of studying in our country versus abroad was quite
in Syria, it was free, right?
Almost free, yeah. It's free. At least higher education was free. I got accepted into electrical engineering, but I ended up going to the US. Also, my brother and sister. So all of us aspired, and my dad always felt education is critical. He couldn't, I think, finish his graduate degree due to the war and what happened in the region. So he ended up coming, I think, early. He wanted to be an architect. So we always wanted that. So, and I got to the US. I mean, there's so much technology. So I studied computer engineering, then did image processing. As I was graduating, digital video and video on demand in hotels, and networks were coming in. And so I did image processing, scanning, digitizing, character recognition. So I was fascinated with like productivity and just, I think anyway, working with imagery we had to compress them. We had to enhance the images. I worked on a project like post-mastering of working on like archives of older movies that wanted to be copied to digital DVD, but the archives were old, the formats didn't work, the colors were not as sharp, so you had to bring them, digitize them. So I was very excited about that space. That's what I studied. And then, so I think the US gave us that education. There's a very good tie-up in the US between academia and industry. So we would get funding as I was doing my master's. We had projects that were funded. Even when I was at EDS, the company I work with, we worked with the MIT Media Lab on a project was called Media Stream. It was about detecting imagery and scenes and camera motions and predicting things. So when you come to correct and fix film, you knew how the camera is moving, you knew the light, you knew like kind of. So all that was happening. I think we used Lisp as a language at the time. So all that was happening early and very exciting. But there's this tie-up between real life applications and academia. And with that, you gain very relevant and practical knowledge. And that remains today. That is what the US's education system is all about. Stanford is in Silicon Valley. That doesn't change.
Yeah.
When I said I'm excited about the region, it's like getting people who've gone through that journey to feel just as excited about the region as they would feel about joining a startup, for example, in the US. Because I'm maybe selfish. I like our lifestyle. I like our region. I like the talent that's here. So I think that journey is good, and having people come back is good. At least here now you have the funding, you have infrastructure to do that versus when we started Soup.
So your recommendation would be for young people that are listening to you now is, would you still recommend that they go and study abroad and come back and do that knowledge transfer?
I mean, I would recommend it. I personally feel going, especially if you're in sciences, going to a place where there's an established collaboration between academia and the industry is invaluable as you proceed with your studies. That said, we need also schools here.
Yeah.
I mean, not everyone's going to go to the US, and not everyone's going to study. And today, you have remote learning tools. There's always like the foundation of our region is investing in our youth, providing them the best tools and education. What you learn and how you learn has changed a lot.
That's true.
Today, kids look at ChatGPT and write their thesis using them, and they don't go through the trouble of researching as much. But those are the tools that they have, and I'm sure our parents, when we had the computer and we used to save a document on Word, when my mom used to sit and type it on a typewriter and correct and redo the page if there are mistakes. Like, it's just evolution. You use the tools you use. So I think just the quality of education, the access has definitely improved. But I firmly believe as you're going through your academia, if you're in sciences, working with the industry early. I went to Northeastern, it had a co-op program. So we were able to work about 2 years. Like I had a 5-year program. You had to do, I think, 4 3-month terms or even maybe more. And I found that invaluable. I was working on silicon chips, in the summer or 2 semesters, and coming back and studying material science the week after at class, and doing circuit design and going back and actually working with someone who are designing circuits. Okay, maybe we're testing the circuits here. Here you're learning the concept, but I think this is invaluable where the two come together, and the US schools do a good job, and their graduate schools is all been built around grants and research and papers, and professors publish these. So that provides a pipeline of innovation and need from the industry and a collaboration that makes you work on real life problems that are applicable. And that's the experience to learn and innovate. And then what you do with that, you apply it in the Arab world on Maktub, or you build Sue.
Yeah. What got you? How did you get excited about coming back?
So I came back, to the region, and the internet was very young. We were building websites.
Did you meet?
I met Samih Husam. They were looking at, expanding. They had also website services and
intranet services. So just for those who don't know Samih and Husam, so Samih and Husam are the co-founders of Maktub, which was an Arabic email service.
Yeah.
And a forum, right? An Arabic forum, correct?
But before Maktub, Samih Husam were developing intranet and internet solutions for companies. I think Aramex was one of their customers.
Okay.
So they would consult with companies how to use the internet, how to build intranet systems, put applications. So, and again, I was doing similar things, and we met.
And they convinced you to come back?
And they convinced me to join and to work together. And and I'm an engineer, so I like to build things.
But that's a big step to leave the US, where everything that was going on.
I had always wanted to come back, so I had just come back to the region.
And you came back to Syria.
Yeah, I didn't know yet what I'm going to do. I was looking at the internet as hey, I saw it happening in the US, so it's probably going to come here. But we didn't have access yet to internet and so forth. So then, Jordan, as I said, was a bit more developed. They had free telecom. They had better connectivity. So we started collaborating. And then, when Maktub launched, Samih, I remember he sent us an email hey, we're going to stop serving customers. We're going to just focus on building Maktub. And I said, okay, well, let's try to, figure out how to monetize.
It was risky.
And I said we were adventurous, to say the least. That was the word I could describe that period. True. You're an adventurous person doesn't mean you're careless. It's fun, what's coming, it's not going to be easy.
Yeah.
But I think it's you knew there's something. And I think very quickly, I remember Samih used to print, that's probably the most inspiring thing. He used to print stories of emails we get of why people use Maktub and put them on a billboard near the entrance. We're in a house that in Amman, his cousin's house that we use as an office. And you would walk in every morning and you just turn to your left and the billboard is there, and he print 2-3 emails and put them in a student, a reporter, a parent, how empowering the email in Arabic was, how they're in Japan, able to talk to their parents, communicate, with an Arabic keyboard, how the chat sections, and just, it felt so empowering.
How were people typing in Arabic?
So we would, the whole Maktub website had a Java application that you would basically create a virtual keyboard.
Oh.
And literally, if you wanted, we would send you by mail, we would print and send you stickers. So you be a student in Philadelphia, we would order the sticker, we mail it. We used to go to the Samih and team, we used to go to the post office, mail the sticker.
Okay.
And then people would have Arabic keyboard. But then every reporter for every Arabic newspaper, Al-Hayat, Al-Shar Al-Awsat, Al-Riyadh, all had Maktub emails because they're all over the world and they are in countries where they use local computers and they go to probably internet cafes and whatever. And the only way to communicate in their own language was to use Maktub. So it became a tool and you could feel the emails, the sense of empowering youth. And the minute you get that feeling that you are able to work with young people in this part of the world, be it as employees, be it as developers, be it as end users, and empowering them in a tool that just opens up endless opportunities for you, be it in creativity, be it in writing, a reporter, or in commerce, or whatever, payment, whatever we end up doing. I think it's like there was no turning back. It was very clear that this is what I wanted to do for the rest of my life. Like, it's just such a, you do a good job, but then you feel you're doing something for your community.
Yeah.
And then you feel the employees who come join as, out of college, and suddenly now we have directors. I think the year the SU acquisition took place, 60, 70 people ended up applying for jobs in Seattle, working on Alexa and some of the most sophisticated system at Amazon. And when you reflect back, I'm like, it's not only empowering the customers, it's empowering your team. They change their community, their life around the people that work for you, use your service. I would get on a plane and a seller next to me say, you guys are serious, right? Like, you're building, I'm a petroleum engineer. I quit my job. I sell watches on Souq. And the site was down, for example, yesterday. And, I just want you to make sure, like, we're committed. I hope you guys are committed. And, you go home and, like, you think of that person who, left a petroleum engineering job to believe in e-commerce, to sell on Souq because he saw a massive opportunity. And that person exists and he has many stores today and still sells online probably.
Yeah.
So, like, you feel the power of empowering that community and the people who use our service. And that's something like doesn't happen often. Anyway, if you're lucky that you're able to build a career around it, I think it's it's a whole different job satisfaction. No type of salaried government post, big corporate job would replace it.
I think that's exactly, what you just said describes beautifully the beauty of entrepreneurship. A lot of people ask, why do you do it? Is it the money? Like, do you want to get rich and so on? And I think, I don't know, probably money was the last thing you thought about at that point. You needed to survive, right?
We needed to survive. We got an offer from a pretty big e-commerce player within 2 years for $2 million. Then I think...
This is Souq.
Yeah, Souq, very quickly. One of the big players came to the region. And luckily, our founders and investors were wise to tell us, they're not coming to the region. They barely can figure out their own market.
$2 million?
Don't take this $2 million offer.
Wow, okay.
And we didn't take it. And the dinner, I remember inviting these people. The dinner cost me like 2,000-3,000 dirham at the time. And I was like frowning, like how big the bill was. And I'm like, I can't pick up these guys. They're guys like these corporate people, coming. But I remember that day, and we said, no, our investors were wise. And, it wasn't, I think the money is it's important to show success. And the money is a numeric way to quantify success. And people ask, what was the valuation? All these questions, they matter for some people, they matter less for others. In e-commerce, for example, we were very clear. Like me and my CFO, we want to make sure we don't dilute. Yeah, we want to make sure we keep a share. But he was like, we need to keep the business running.
Growing up.
We need to make sure we're funding. We need to make sure we're always raising. The last thing on our mind, when we're doing the valuation rounds, exactly what's the outcome for us out of this? The outcome was the company grows, we're going to grow. Investors and you come to terms of what happens with your shares and how you dilute and the details of it. Obviously, some companies raise less and the founders keep more. In e-commerce, usually it's a long haul, and you build a bigger business, but you end up with less. But all in all, I think the money is a quantitative way, one way to measure success. There's the gratification, the people you talk to. Like I told you, like when the exit happened, everyone was so proud. People I don't know, they were proud. It wasn't me. We're happy. They were proud. Like, we're so proud of you. Amazing.
Yes.
You're a role model. And then you see, I get decks. I still invest a bit here and there, and they always have either Kareem, Sue, some of these Maktoub, some of these exits that have happened, Talabat, whatever. I mean, we've had now a couple, but they're not as many as I would want. But we've had some successful companies. Some go unnoticed because they get acquired early, and you can't really tell if the outcome was as positive for the founders or not. But I think it's just a journey. So yeah.
So maybe people don't know this, but Sue maybe almost didn't become Sue had it been acquired by Yahoo when the Maktoub acquisition happened, right?
Yeah, I mean, when the Maktoub acquisition happened, we had two offers.
So Yahoo bought Maktoub in 2008, 2009.
Yeah, I think the discussion was in 2008, and the acquisition was now. Remember, this was like in the global crisis. Like the world was unraveling. All the banks have gone bankrupt.
Yeah.
The real estate market in the UAE was, and access to capital is far from few.
And here you are doing the biggest tech exit probably at the time of what 180 million.
180 million.
That's insane. I mean, at the time.
It's insane at the time. Yeah. And we had two offers for Maktoub at the time. We had a big company who later became an investor with us, who wanted Sue, but also believed in the whole tech space. And we had Yahoo, who were just focusing on media and had done an investment in Alibaba. So they owned 40% of Alibaba, which became 40 billion for them when Yahoo unraveled.
Yeah.
And the offer was without the e-commerce entity because the rules were not clear. The industry was, the regulatory environment was not clear, and it wasn't a focus for Yahoo. Wanted to be a big media player, and they had just changed from the founder to a new CEO. And between the two offers, one with e-commerce, one without e-commerce, I think it wasn't too hard to choose that. We knew e-commerce would grow.
That was amazing for you as well.
Yeah, I think we bought
when
the company back for $1.
When you had all the money and then you had your company still.
We had to basically buy Sue back for $1. I think that's how the deal was structured.
Okay.
From Yahoo. We sold the group and bought back Sue. And then we spend a lot of money, obviously, trying to organize the company, make sure it has its own legal entity. We now were aware of what regulations we need to meet and go back and,
how life-changing was it for you, that deal?
Even the deal was
personally?
super deal. It was it was at least an affirmation that this journey that all of us took, with all its ups and downs and hardships, and we went through a hard time in Maktoub. And even when Sue was founded, we didn't have a lot of capital till that point. It was an affirmation that, it can happen. There were two sides of that story. One was the deal happened, we're very proud. There was the other side that some of the team members who were part of the Yahoo or Maktoub team at the time had to stay with Sue. And many of the tech people are like, why am I here? I should be on the other side. I should have gone with the deal. We took the team to the Red Sea. And that's when Jabbar, our internet, whatever was left, we put it under Jabbar Internet Group. I remember me, Samih, Hussam, people were a bit disappointed. People who were left out of the deal were almost like, why, they didn't want us? We came here we knew the potential. But for an employee who could be working instead of for Sue, for Yahoo that day, maybe it wasn't the best day of his life.
Yeah.
I remember sitting in that scene, we told people we're going to go create $1 billion company. We bluntly made that, announcement. And I was sitting at lunch after, me and Samih and Hussam, how are we going to go build $1 billion company? Exactly how much money we have out of the deal and how much is left after all the legal and all the expenses we had to go through.
Yeah.
But we had good investors, at the time, Tiger, then Naspers. These guys are all new e-commerce. Well, they were not from the region, but they understood the space. They understood that in non-English speaking markets where you have good companies and e-commerce would eventually grow. And so they bet on us. They had investments in other part of the world. And they were, I would say, long-term also investors, and we needed them, but they had seen also, some of them seen the success with Maktoub, so there were a bit more trust in the way we worked together. And the journey didn't get easier, but at least you had an affirmation. You had a point where, okay, this can happen. For me, I learned a lot. I mean, because it was like you see the whole journey play out, from raising to swapping investors. At the time, one of our investors wanted to get out early because the company was not profitable. They were not used to it. Another investor came in who quickly realized the good return with the Yahoo exit. So you see it all play out. And then obviously me and Sami Hussam would always have a dialogue around how to work and how to improve. We focused a lot on empowering people. And so I was lucky I had Sami Hussam, and I think also Fadi, because Sue had a lot of logistics. Obviously, we'd work with Aramex day in, day out. So also I had a bit of access to Fadi, who also was very helpful. And obviously the two big investors that we had, they were global investors. They had seen things all across the world. So we would at least knowledge tap into them. So while they came with a bit of funding, I think there are a lot of value when you have good investors who think strategic and can guide you through your next rounds, how to maneuver, set up your board. You go into those board meetings. Every decision you make could be, turn out to be very bad for the company, for you. So I think it was very helpful, that the affirmation part, but also the fact that, you had good mentors who have been together through the journey, 1, 2, 3 exits. So, we later invested in InstaShop. That also turned out to be a fabulous investment. I saw a tweet from John about, I think a week ago. He wrote, Sue gave me $3 million check and I returned like 180 or something million. So it's like...
It was sold for 360, correct?
Yeah, somewhere around that,
Yeah. No, so it's... that was...
I found, like, again, the space, the entrepreneur. If the space is right and you have a good entrepreneur, the rest you figure out. The business model and the unit economics will all come together. I was very bullish on quick commerce, even at that time. And, we decided right away, like between Jabbar, even Sue at the time, like, this is going to be critical down the road. Let's invest.
Could Sue have kept on going had the acquisition not happened? So. I mean, a lot of people say, it was burning a lot of money. You need a lot of cash to grow this business. We were not burning a lot of money.
Actually, we were almost very close to be very profitable.
Okay.
We were not burning. But obviously, as competition comes, you have to up your game. I think we were large enough to be able to raise. We had just raised the year we exited. At least we had a dialogue. We exited the year after, but we started discussions about exits in 2016 because we had one of our biggest funds had become lapsed its term 10 years, so 2006 to 2016.
Okay.
So they wanted to exit. They were part of the Maktoub investment. So they had invested in 2006 in Maktoub.
So similar story to what happened with Beko now.
Yeah,
we're
so
talking
2016,
about
they want to return. So we said, okay, let us find the right suitable investor. So with that journey, we had raised, and we raised from Solvent funds, we raised from IFC, we raised from a bank, Standard Charter, we had Vulcan, which is a whole island fund. So we had, global, some local, less, I would say local at the time. The sentiment after our exit changed, where local funds and investments started investing more. So I think we would have raised, and I think the space is growing. But obviously, it becomes, it's a long haul. We knew that anyway. I think the dilemma for us was, can we really list Sue abroad? And I was very skeptical that if I had an e-commerce company in the Middle East, in the New York Stock Exchange, and I have Amazon in the US, similar businesses, if I'm an investor, like a retail investor, why would I go invest in Sue? I was like, my rationale was, so can we really publicly list in a place where we don't have customers, they don't know the product, they don't see the potential.
And
in
you
the
had
region.
the learning. Fadi Randour spoke about
Fadi had come back, and it's not easy to go. If you are listing in the local market and you have customers who are retail investors and people understand the potential of the business, I think would be a different story. But it wasn't so simple. You had to be profitable for X amount of years. You had to have restricted shares of GCC versus international. ADGM did not exist, I think, at the time. Today, you see in Saudi a much better environment for local startups to go public in Saudi, and they have customers. So we just didn't. So the tools were, okay, we're going to go further. We can. But, okay, I'm not clear. I mean, we've evaluated, obviously, our bankers. We had the sell versus, IPO versus just build a sustainable business scenarios. And, it just wasn't clear to me that we're going to be able to get there. And after we list, it will be a positive outcome. We'll probably get to list. But then after that, it becomes a long one. And I've seen it even now when you see some of the newer ones who listed abroad, like just the valuation becomes very painful. And then you're stuck with, you're stuck with, you have a majority, right? Many of the shareholders you list a part of the company.
Yes.
So you start with the majority at now comparable. I mean, the share is traded as a much lower value.
Yeah.
So what do? Do you raise capital at that low value and dilute everyone? You need the capital to grow these companies, even if they list. Amazon listed in 1995 maybe, or 98, I can't remember. And our retail business many years after remained unprofitable and continue some quarters where we decide, to invest a bit long term. We went through that in COVID, where we have to invest and lean in to serve customers. I mean, if your principle is, I want to have a great service to serve my customer, and that's the first thing that I will not compromise. You would need to raise when you're growing. There's just no other way to do it. And hence, that was always for me a challenge, hence the sell versus buy. And then obviously with Amazon, I just felt, for our team, for our customers, it's a good outcome because we have potentially to grow. And obviously now the business is much, much bigger. And there's so much still to give. I mean, we were just a small company if you compare to the potential that it can reach. And, while we're seeing some of it today, there's still a long way to go.
Yeah. So what's next? So you're still head of Amazon for MENA.
Yeah, I run MENA. Turkey also is with us. And so we have a bit of a region. I mean, as long as we continue to build, I always assess from time to time, like what should I do next? I mean, I'm working with entrepreneurs. I personally invest when I find
how do you give back?
I spend a lot of time mentoring, talking to entrepreneurs, trying to guide them, introduce them, help them. So I feel that part is good. I'm not so sure I just want to go back and go build a startup. There are many good entrepreneurs who are good at what they're doing. We can support them in many ways than technically operating a business.
I was told that you're very much loved in Amazon as well. So,
I mean, I think we have a good culture. We've kept some of the spirits, this drive, the startup mindset in a very large company. Part of it is because we're in a region, so we're able to run the business in our region. I love to see my team develop and grow, and we have good leaders. And when you listen to our customers, it reflects of what happens inside. They're happy because our teams are delivering good outcomes and service, and so.
Will you have some time for yourself now?
Yeah, I do. I mean, it's difficult.
So we met recently. So for those who are listening, I saw Ronaldo 2 weeks ago. I went to listen to you play. You were DJing at Arts Club. House music, very, very cool. And so this is a new hobby, right?
I mean, I always love music. Music is not new. It was, for me, is always a way to disconnect from what you're doing and give yourself a way to refresh and retool and a little bit, kind of regroup. In the last 2-3 years, mainly after COVID, I took it a bit more seriously. Understanding music better, trying to mix and compose. And obviously with that, you start having your own sound and your own genre. And then through friends and family and people around you, we play, a few of us. Most of us are in tech, by the way. And, we have a small following that continues to grow. I love music. Obviously, it's a joy to play and make people happy and dance. That's a big part of why we do it. And we have a lot of joy doing it ourselves. They call us sometimes too happy of DJs. Like we like what we
Who's
do.
we?
And we are a few people
Okay.
that we play with. I play with different, but a few of us. And most of us live in Dubai and, have full-time tech jobs and so forth. On the other hand, I think music is an amazing connector. So it cuts across cultures, religions, it cuts across countries, backgrounds. It doesn't matter. If you like a song, it doesn't matter who you are. We have a common bound. And I find that part of it, it seems like when we're around it, all these dividing barriers and all the stereotypes totally go away. No one asks, who's this guy? What he does? It's not important. It's his sound that matters, the energy, is the reaction. And it's an amazing way to connect people. And as much as I have friends through the entrepreneurial ecosystem and the journey that I've been through, we have friends that are different than you, not necessarily from the same ecosystem, that you can have a very good conversation, learn a lot from, and just cross-pollinate your knowledge and your interaction with so many different cultures. It's a universal language. It doesn't matter if you're here, you're in Lebanon, you're in the US, you're in Costa Rica, you're in Spain, you're in Greece, you're in Turkey. If people like that sound or that genre, that's the common bond.
You are flying around and playing in different countries.
Like I try when I have travel and if there's an opportunity to play somewhere. I was in Monaco about a couple of weeks back, and there was a car race, an electric car race, and I had the chance to play. So I'm like, I play. It's a lot of fun.
That says
and people
a lot.
get to know you.
Yeah,
so
but that says a lot about you, by the way, that you're willing to put yourself out there. Again, playing music to a crowd is not an easy thing.
Yeah, some intimidation goes the first 2 minutes. So you have to choose your songs well. So music is about technique, obviously, if you're talented and composer.
But that takes a while to learn as well, right?
Technique takes a lot. If you're composing and remixing song, that takes even more time. Then about like choice, the choice of what you play. And I feel for me, it's like the choice is the most important part. And I've learned the rest over time. Probably there are people who do it better, but it's just the way you connect with the people.
Customer obsession.
Gives you maybe backwards from what they need. But again, you stick with your sound. It's important that you play certain type, and sometimes you deviate to the left and the right, but like you have a sound that people know you with. I like my sound. I keep it. I try to obviously enrich it, add to it. But I wouldn't play something, even if the language changes. If I have even to play an Arabic song, it has to be within that sound. If it is, I'll play it and people get to know you for your sound. And, if people like the sound and you're able to connect with people and make them happy, make them smile, make them feel better before they came, after they left, that's an amazing tool.
You like to remix songs.
Yeah,
so you
remix
take
a
famous
lot.
songs and you...
I take a lot of songs, remix them, mash them. I mean, obviously it's a long journey. Many people even compose, and today electronic music is just a much easier, accessible way to create music. And
so you're composing, or you're just mixing?
I'm trying. I continuously try to take composition classes. I think I started a bit late, but I'm still hopeful and continue to. It's part of like improving and exploring and understanding how tracks are composed, what makes a good track, what are the elements in it. That I think is the curiosity aspect of it than the aspiration, to create like some song that many people may play or whatever.
Are you inspired by certain DJs in the same way you are maybe inspired in business by certain
in the region,
CEOs?
obviously, there are two, one Palestinian, one Egyptian, Tamer and Rami, called Bedouin.
Okay.
And I think for me, they were like, I love to hear them play. They bring a lot of ethnicity into our background into their music.
I saw them play in Beirut.
They play for Abdel Halim Hafiz, but they play it with their sound.
Yeah, very unique music.
And so they're probably the few from this region that I like, but there are so many talented in Lebanon. There are so many, and even in Syria, even now in Saudi. So I think it's just a way to connect, and I think it's a way to bring what we like again about the Western world, but then try to figure out can you bring your own culture and sound
I think
into
Arabic
it,
is very
and the
interesting.
combination of it. Yeah, there are many global DJs who play Arabic not understanding even what the song says, but the way it resonates with people, it's exciting, and it's a way to connect.
So it's an
with people.
escape.
It's I wouldn't call it an escape. It's a way to, I think, just enhance your mind. I feel when I disconnect from what I do and play music, I think better after, because it allows you to reset a bit, give your right side, I guess, of your brain a break, and go work on your creative side, and then come back, and you've a little bit given yourself some space, and to think about.
Yeah, because when I asked you offline, I asked you, that's a very interesting pivot. You were very clear to say that this is not a pivot, that this is something that you are doing as a hobby and that you really enjoy.
Yeah, I enjoy it, and I think the connection, the effort it goes into playing also is kind of like, it's in my DNA. I always consider like you have to put in the work. Like there's no shortcuts in life. If you want to build a company, you have to put in the work. If you want to go to school, you have to put in the work. I played basketball, never considered myself very talented, but I ended up playing almost to a professional level because I just put in the work. And the same, I think, with music. You spend time to prepare, and I think that time is where I take the break. It's not the event or when we're playing in public. That's probably not the right place to disconnect, because there you're pretty engaged. But as you're preparing your music, exploring music, even when you're walking in the gym, in the car, that's when it allows you to kind of like disconnect and, travel all over where these artists want you to go with their music.
I think that's sending also a very interesting message to people out there that think that, if you are a CEO, your life has to be in a certain way, or you, can only do certain things. Like you have to be very formal and very serious, and
I think you should have your passions and your hobbies, and you always have them. There's always enough time to work, and some people enjoy jogging, some people more mountain climbing, traveling, diving. I mean, those are all hobbies that bring a new flavor to your life. And I just find music fascinating because the way it travels and connects. It not only impacts you, it impacts others.
It's tiring though.
Think of it like you listen to 1,000 songs to love 10 and share what you love with 100 people. So it's like the 10 out of 1,000. So
that was amazing. I think learning about your journey, the insight, and the sort of the little segue into music that you're into. It was really, really nice to watch you play. Actually, I see you in the zone, and it was funny because for me, I'm used to seeing you in a completely different environment. I'm used to seeing you at Web Summit. I'm used to seeing you at Step Conference. And
those are important.
No, but it was interesting because like you're, in the entrepreneurship world, you're like at the top of your game, and then in music you're starting up. I mean, yes, you are putting in the work, but it's a 2-year, a 3-year journey so far. So you're still early. So it's interesting to see that, like, you're willing to put yourself out there. You don't care if everything that is public. There's a degree of self-confidence in a way that comes with it, right? I mean, what if they don't like my music? What if they
sometimes it happens.
So
you don't connect well with the crowd. I mean, you learn over time to read and do better at it. But you like everything in life, you have, as I said, when we started Sue, it was very adventurous. Going into the space almost follows the same borderline. Like, it's an adventurous, very complicated word, very established, and obviously, so just trying it, and I enjoy it. And the minute I think I stopped enjoying it, I just won't do it anymore.
Yeah. Are you going to do the trek to Burning Man?
I will see.
All the tech CEOs,
we'll see.
They go there. It's a long and expensive 7 days.
It requires time. The most difficult part about it is the preparation and then the time itself.
Yeah.
Let's see.
Interesting. Okay, I have just a few rapid fire questions, and we're gonna wrap. And so, Boston Celtics or LA Lakers?
Celtics.
Favorite holiday spot?
Favorite, I think Greece.
Greece. Something that upsets you.
Something judging people when people judge people.
Something you love about people.
Generosity.
Okay. So a musician or artist that has had a great impact on you, you said Bedouin.
I mean, to be fair, also, like you have, there are many good musicians, Prince, Sting, Michael Jackson. Those are all.
What's your favorite Michael Jackson song?
I mean, Billie Jean is probably the most popular. Yeah.
Okay. If you had an opportunity to time travel, would you go back or would you go into the future?
I think I'll go into the future.
To the future. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much, Ronaldo, for your time and for coming here and sharing all the great insights.
Thank you.
Look forward to see you on the DJ booth.
Inshallah.
Thank you so much for tuning into this episode of Conversations with Loulou with the amazing Ronaldo Mouchawar. I hope you enjoyed it and found it insightful. As usual, don't forget to visit conversationswithloulou.com to check out all the other episodes. Make sure you are subscribed to the show wherever you're listening to this podcast or wherever you're watching it so that you get notified every time a new episode drops. And please leave us a rating and a review. It really helps in getting the show discovered. I will see you in a few weeks.